I have a friend, Rob. It was his birthday the other day, so I drove across back the Delaware River to my home state of New Jersey, and it was my job to get the balloons. Just another day. These balloons smell like 20 fucking latex condoms. Alright, I'm packed in. So, helium's really fucking expensive. This was also a surprise party. Surprise! I had a whole plate of like chips and guac. I sat down next to my friend Chris. I turned to him and he asked me, how are YouTube endeavors going? Because I usually don't share it that much, and now I've been talking about it lately to like come out of my shell a little bit. And I replied, I'm in a trough. So what is the Trough of Sorrow? Essentially, whenever you start something new, a new project, a new goal, might be going to the gym, maybe you're just doing an actual startup, that's where the term comes from. You start in this euphoric stage, and then after weeks or months or days, you hit this flat line of reality. Hey, the train's here. That's cool. The whole point of this video is right now, for me, video making, it's not giving me results in terms of analytics, and it's not giving me results in terms of happiness. And then it's like, well, I love making videos. I've loved making videos my entire life. Like, what am I supposed to do if the one thing I love, I don't enjoy? And that's tough. Like, that's tough medicine to swallow. And I think even if you do find what you love, the problem is that you're gonna hit a trough of sorrow, and it's gonna be really hard, because if you hit a trough in the thing you love the most, then how can you enjoy anything else in life, right? And that's the problem I hit these last few weeks. So back to my conversation with Chris. He told me, after telling him I was in this trough, he told me, it's actually a beautiful place to be in. Now, yeah, I get it. It fucking sucks, right? Like, but from a different perspective, from a different perception, what Chris had told me is that this is usually the spot where everybody starts to pivot. So I took 2 weeks off. I didn't want to. I didn't mean to. I didn't go at the start of 2 weeks and say, hey, like, it's time to take off and relax and have some fun. It's just like I actually had writer's block, and I actually didn't even know what to say. Or what to film, or if I wanted to film, because film wasn't making me happy, plus I wasn't seeing the results, which is like, fuck, right? And I've loved doing it all my life. So I spent 2 weeks, and I had all this good footage. It turns out I actually did a lot. I read a lot of books, well, one or two books actually, and read some articles. I played soccer with friends, I socialized a little bit. I made some shitty music last night, and after I had made it, I went to go save it, and the fucking program is like, okay, if you want to save your project, it's gonna be $200 to buy the fucking program. I'm like, okay, this is just great. So now I didn't buy it. I took a little backdoor approach, and I saved it. And then after making shit music, I listened to some good music, because I was like, I just spent 3 hours doing that. But it felt so good, because it felt so good to just make something and not worry about where it's gonna go. I just wanted to learn something new. I remember when you're a teenager, you spend so much of your time, or some of us spend a lot of our time, learning something new, and that means just going through a lot of failure. And now, like, as we get older, we think we're so smart, and we think we can skip stages and skip the failure, and I just want to produce content, but I just have to go back to the drawing board. And last night I just sat at in my room for 3 hours on a Friday night and just made a terrible song. I went to the local market, I listened to thunderstorms. Because it's been raining all these 2 weeks, which has really been helpful for that emotional feel, if you know what I mean. I went to the library, I went to the quarry where I work, which is in the shape of a trough. Coincidence? I think not. I edited my last video to fit IGTV. I've been writing a lot, and I made a personal blog, so that's kind of the pivot. I'm not leaving YouTube, I'm still making videos, but I'm just trying to expand and like not put any restraints on myself right now. So, I mean, I don't know if any of you care to read the stuff I write, but I'm gonna put it out there. My view is kind of like communism when it comes to creativity, which is terrible, because communism is absolutely terrible. I feel like I consume so much beautiful art and beautiful work that I almost feel it's my duty to put my stuff out there, whether it's good or not, because, you know, they're putting their stuff out there, and, you know, putting out good content isn't easy. People don't wake up artists, you know, they spend 10 years failing, so I'm just doing my part of the communistic view that I have, and kind of giving back to all the beautiful art and all the beautiful things that I consume. So I'm pivoting around, I'm making videos, I'm gonna be writing this blog, acityaway.io, so check it out. You don't have to check it out, but if you feel like, if I disappear for 2 weeks, check there, because maybe I'm writing something, because mediums change, and it's easier to say something, write it down, than make a whole video about it. So if any of you are like me, and kind of feel like you're in this little creative trough, or trough of a new goal you set, if you're working out or whatever you're doing, a little advice. I don't feel like I'm the person to give advice at all, but may as well give back a little bit. I wanted to share a story that I heard last semester in one of my classes, or actually no, I read an article on it. Some of you might have heard this. So when Airbnb started, they did pretty well. They saw a demand where a lot of conferences would fill up and the hotels around would fill up, so they would offer their service, Airbnb, because people were desperate to go to these conferences and they needed somewhere to stay. So they did pretty well for like a year, a month, I'm not really sure how long it was. But like any startup, they hit the trough of sorrow. You know, numbers were flat, they didn't really know what to do, so they just woke up one morning and decided, hey, let's make cereal. Like, of course, like genius idea. Like if we just make cereal, all our problems will be fixed. So this was during the 2008 United States election, so it was Obama versus McCain, and they made cereal called Obama O's and McCainettes. So they somehow got someone to invest a little bit of money to make these cereals, and they were able to make 500, so they designed the boxes and just got like standard fucking Cheerios or something and threw them in, and they're like, okay, we only have 500, let's number them, we'll call them limited edition, like no problem at all. And they sold them for $40 a piece as limited edition cereal boxes. And they sold out completely. They sent them to every magazine, every writing corporation, and they just sold out. So a little bit of time later, Airbnb was still kind of flatlined. They made some cereal, like this is fucking cool, we made cereal. And they applied to Y Combinator, which is like the best accelerator for a startup that there possibly is. They were a day late, that's not a good look. So they wrote their application in like 2 hours, and they got to the interview, and the people at Y Combinator were like, what the fuck is Airbnb? Like, no one's gonna stay in someone else's house. Like, of course not, this is ridiculous. And they're like, okay, well that fucking sucks. And they walked out. The guy who made Airbnb, the guy who made Airbnb ran back to his car and then ran back. He's like, yo, I got you some Obama O's. I just wanted to give these to you. And he's like, where'd you get Obama O's? And he said, I made them. And the Y Combinator guy was so impressed that he had this grit to raise money and put off his debt just by making these Obama O's. And he's like, we'll give you a shot. Come on into Y Combinator. And I don't know if that's why, if Y Combinator gave Airbnb their success, but any company that goes into Y Combinator usually gets their like little exponential curve going. So if you're in the trough of sorrow, don't try to think too much into like which direction and the right way to do something. You know, sometimes you just gotta make some cereal and things will all turn out okay.